Welcome to the topic where we highlight Houston Community College, our students, our programs, and our reach into the community. I'm Todd Duplantis. As we move forward in this COVID-19 crisis that we're in right now, we're trying to highlight personal stories across our area. Houston Community College is known for our truck driving program, but how is this crisis affecting the truck drivers across the roads of America? We're joined tonight by Randy West, and Randy is a truck driver. Randy, you are from the Houston area, but you're stopped right now and you're on your route in Bentleyville, Pennsylvania. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I'm actually heading to York, Pennsylvania with a load of coffee from Indianapolis.
Now, we had talked earlier, and your day job as a driver is working for an entertainment company. It's quite interesting, and you sent me some pictures. We're going to talk about those. But tell me what you were doing prior to this crisis.
I work for the same trucking company, and we're basically special events transportation. And we're an entertainment transportation company. We haul equipment for major shows, country music, rap. Some of our bands are Leonard Skinner, Zac Brown, Joe Bonamassa, Justin Moore, Hootie and the Blowfish, or Darius Rucker, George Strait. And each tour, depending on the tour, has a different number of trucks. The Zac Brown tour that I was on had 15 trucks.
That's a pretty big truck, but then again, Zac Brown's a pretty big band these days. So I imagine he has a lot of equipment he's hauling around. Now, you were in the midst of this tour when this all started. Tell me what happened, how you received word, and really where you went to from there on.
Well, we just kicked off the tour in Moline, Illinois on the 28th of last month. And we were getting into the spring. We had basically 13 more shows to do. And I guess we were in our fifth show, and we had a 5-day break, St. Louis. So me and some of the guys were taking a tour of the brewery on our day off of the Budweiser Anheuser-Busch. And we were going from one plant to the other, and our phone started going off. And we started getting messages saying, the tour's been postponed, start heading east or heading back toward the shop. And the four of us, we've been going on the tour, so we finished the tour and we left the next day and started to head home.
Did they tell you the reason why the tour was canceled with this? And had you known about this while you were on the road? Had you heard anything before the tour was just canceled?
Well, actually, stuff started getting canceled. A big music festival in Austin, South by Southwest. Right. That was the first big one to be canceled. And, you heard things on the news about the virus and coming from China. And I guess it just really started to escalate around that time. We weren't prepared for it. It was like a total shock. We were enjoying our day off because we had like a 5-day break before the next show in St. Louis. And that's when we got the emails. And some of the guys they weren't with us on the tour. They already left. But we had to wait the next day, and we left the next morning and started heading home. And the details weren't out, but basically, Zac, it was a hard decision to postpone the tour. It wasn't canceled. It was just postponed. And it was a big decision, but the welfare of the fans, the band, the crew, and everything was foremost in his mind.
You're based, I know, in the Houston, Cypress area. Have you gone through anything like this before? Because you were out on the tour and it was canceled, so your job is gone overnight. Have you been through situations like that before?
Actually, no. I mean, I was in Iraq in 04 to 07. I dealt with a lot of adversity there. I mean, you had to adapt and change. But it was really like, wow, and all the other tours weren't canceled. So it was possible that I could have went to another tour. Because we have other groups that are out traveling around.
But that would have been shut down too.
Well, they weren't shut down yet.
Yeah.
Zach was actually the first one to start postponing. He was like the first one, and it was funny because the company's like, well, if you guys want some time off, take some time off, because we basically had um, 80 drivers at that time, and it was hard to find freight for 80 drivers all of a sudden.
Sure.
But I was actually going to go to the Houston rodeo, and on our way home, I started getting hits that the Houston rodeo was canceled, and
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's huge.
It was monumental for the city. And, it seemed like once the rodeo was canceled, the rest of our lives just started to change. And really, day by day or hour by hour, everything was starting to get shut down. So you're out there you took a week and a half off, as you mentioned. And then you you're shifting gears now, because I imagine there's a need to get groceries to stores and to haul freight, at least at this point. What are you doing now?
I took a week off, so my company started locating freight for all the drivers. Emails have been going out while I was home, basically saying that they got loads available. We have to shift gears because the bills need to be paid, our bills as drivers, and then the company's bills, because we got new trucks, new trailers, and we got to bring revenue into the company, and it's not entertainment revenue.
Right.
So we shifted gears and we're hauling freight. All the drivers are busy, but it's a different kind. We're adapting to the changing scenario, because as we're working, the freight is there, but the states are starting to close down. The rest areas are getting ready. They're closing rest areas, which is hurting the drivers. Um, some truck stops, the not all of them, because we get emails from like the pilots and the Flying J's, but some showers are closed. The restaurants are closed as far as dine in. You can make an order and get it to take out and go eat in your truck. My truck is fully stocked. I have a refrigerator. I have plenty of snacks, food, a microwave. So I'm good to go for a while. I have supplies, but as we're hauling freight as much as we can, we're afraid that the mandatory shutdowns are stay in place. As that goes into effect, then the truck stops and the fueling places and the food, if they shut that down, that's going to hurt the trucking industry. That's going to put us down.
Well, you make an excellent point there, because that's one of the things a lot of us have thought about. These grocery stores are in demand; they're needing these supplies delivered all the time because they're getting cleaned out every day. But you guys are facing hardships on the road because you can't get the groceries to the store if you don't have anywhere to refuel to park your truck safely. Because what you were telling me earlier before we went on the air was that people were parking their trucks on the side of the road, where really that's not recommended. It's dangerous, correct?
We operate on ELDs, electronic logs, and with the 14-hour work and driving rule and the 11-hour driving rule, guys are pushing it to the limit. And in the evening, as you're driving and you pull into the truck stops, the spots get few. They're fewer, and there's so many trucks on the road, and the spots get fewer. So then the states, like Pennsylvania, some of the rest areas are closed and they're not open for business. So the truckers can't pull into the rest area and take their 10-hour break. After a 14-hour day, because we can't work or drive more than 14 hours a day, we have to take a 10-hour reset. So we got to stop somewhere. And when that clock runs out, you have to stop. And sometimes you'll find yourself on an off ramp or along the freeway somewhere. And that's really not a good place to be. It's very dangerous.
Randy, if this goes on for another 2 weeks or so, or maybe longer, how do you see it continuing to affect you? And do you see the trucking industry at one point saying, unless you keep these roadways open with sufficient refueling options, we're not going to be able to operate? Do you see that happening?
Right now, there's plenty of freight. Will it slow down? Not as long as people are still shopping. Some of the grocery stores and some of the trucking industry are pleading with the people to stop panic buying.
Right.
Um, they're panicking and they're buying, and the grocery stores, the workers, the truck drivers, we can't supply them or refill them fast enough. Um, the warehouses are full. They're full of everything. Um, the biggest concern is the states not closing the rest areas. The truck stops are essential businesses. The gas stations, the mechanic shops are essential because if we break down along the road and you put the mechanics, make them close, we can't get our trucks fixed. We can't get the produce to the stores. Um, I can't predict the future. Hopefully, I mean, right now we're running the freight because it's there, it's out there, and we're going to run it as long as we can till either the government says we got to slow down or the freight dries up. Um, there's a lot of predictions that it might dry up, but um, there are people out on the roads, but it's not like before. I mean, rush hour, you're going through Columbus, Ohio, and you're like whizzing right through or around the cities because the POVs and the regular cars
Yeah.
aren't on the as much.
Have you seen anything like this before? Driving in your career, how long have you been driving, and have you seen it like this before?
Oh, I've been driving for over 25 years, and most of my driving been in NASCAR, NHRA, or like the entertainment business. I have done hauled freight. Um, and that's what my company's doing right now. When we're not hauling music equipment or lighting or rigging, we're hauling freight to pay the bills. The last time I seen anything like this was either Harvey or Katrina, where it was a disaster area, and they basically shut it down to get supplies to those areas. FEMA, needed supplies, but that was localized to one area. It wasn't national.
Randy, I'd heard that they limited or lifted up some of the restrictions on the roads here in Texas, specifically for truckers. Have you seen that? And if so, what has that played a role in what you're doing?
Basically, we're still obeying the laws. We're still obeying weight restrictions on the vehicles. Um, if the scales are open, we're pulling in. As far as I know, the laws haven't changed. I mean, I'm still seeing state troopers on the road. I'm still seeing construction or state troopers having trucks pulled over. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm going by the book, going by the law, doing my hours. There was a lot of rumors and stuff saying that that the president said signed a waiver or an executive order doing away with the ELD, the restrictions on the 14-hour day, but I haven't seen that. And until I get written notice from my company, I'm going by the law.
Sure.
Police are out there. They are pulling trucks over. They are doing inspections. Um, so I mean, your equipment has to be right, and your logbook has to be legal.
Well, I know the move is obviously you want to do your job and make sure you're safe and maintain the safety and follow the laws. But what could the government do right now to make your job easier so that you could get the freight in a more efficient way? If you could talk with the governor right now, what would you ask him to do, at least in the state of Texas or beyond?
I'm not sure about the state of Texas. I do know that in the northern states, or I mean, I'm not trying to be political, but in the more democratic states, that they need to keep the rest areas open. It's making it difficult for our the drivers. We have nowhere to pull over for safe sleeping if the truck stops are full. Some truck stops they're tight to get in, tight to get out of. When you're tired and there's one or two spots and you can't get in, the next best place is a rest area
Right.
where room. But if they're closed or you close every other one, then we got to drive that much further, and that puts that time limit on our 14-hour clock on our driving time. So, and then we're parking on the off ramps and on ramps, and that's a dangerous place to be. Truckers get run into. Um, People run into the backs of the trucks, and you're just asking for trouble. My biggest thing is open the rest areas. Try to keep the truck stops open as long as possible. Right now they are. I mean, we need comfort. after a couple of days on the road, I mean, we need showers, we need food, and we can't do our job and get the food to the people if they're making it harder.
Well, I certainly agree with you, and I've talked to some folks in the service industry. I've talked to some people who work in the grocery stores, and now I'm getting a chance to speak with a long haul trucker to see what you guys are going through, and I told them all that, after 9/11, we looked at first responders in a whole different way because of what happened. And it seems like with this crisis, we're looking at not only the service industry, but guys like you who are keeping these lines open to the grocery stores, because you guys are serving a vital part to our country right now. And we really appreciate y'all being on the road. And we support you and thank you for doing everything you do for getting those grocery stores stocked.
Well, we do appreciate the thanks and everything. Truckers, like any other industry, they do get a bad rap sometimes, and it's always one or two that make it bad for the rest of us. You have good truckers and you have bad truckers. You have guys that are safety conscious, and you have guys that aren't. The biggest thing is, I'm trying to put this into words. We stay away on the road. We're away from our families. We're out here while you guys are staying home. We want everybody to be safe. We don't want to get sick and bring something home to our loved one.
Sure.
I mean, because it would break our heart if we got our families or our loved ones sick. So we want people to obey the rules and try to stay home so we can get through this. Stop panic buying, buy what you need. Think about the elderly, because if you go in a store and you buy everything and then, there's a 60, 70-year-old couple and there's nothing for them to buy, that's who I care about. Try to spread the love and just buy what you need. Don't hoard. And, because we can't restock the stores fast enough.
That's what we're noticing. And Randy, we do once again appreciate what you're doing out there. And I appreciate you being on the show with me today and letting our public know. I just wanted to get people a different perspective of what's really going out there and what the hardships you guys are going through, trying to keep our stores stocked. So we appreciate that. Randy West, a trucker, joining us on the topic today. We appreciate you being here on the topic. I'm Todd Duplantis. Tune in for more as we're going through this crisis. We'll keep you up to date right here on Facebook Live. We'll see you next time on the topic.